Martin Scorsese isn't just a filmmaker, he's a student of cinema. A man who spent his life obsessing over every frame, every cut, every story ever put to film. And when it comes to the 1960s, that's where things get interesting. This was a decade when movies stopped playing by the rules. Filmmakers pushed boundaries, broke taboos, and changed cinema forever. And Scorsese? He was watching, studying, learning. These are the 15 films from the 60s that shaped his vision and wants us to see these masterpieces. Most people know Psycho as the film that shattered horror conventions in 1960. But Peeping Tom? It was even more daring, and it paid the price. Michael Powell, a celebrated British filmmaker, directed this psychological thriller about a serial killer who films his victims' final moments. But audiences and critics were so disturbed by its voyeuristic approach that Powell's career was destroyed overnight. He went from being one of Britain's top directors to being blacklisted, all because he dared to make a film that looked too deeply into the nature of cinematic violence. But Scorsese? He saw Peeping Tom for what it really was, one of the most important films ever made. Powell didn't just tell a story, he weaponized the camera itself. He forced the audience to see through the killer's eyes, making them complicit in the horror. That idea, of making the viewer an unwilling accomplice, became a cornerstone of Scorsese's work. Look at Taxi Driver. You don't just watch Travis Bickle's descent into madness. You feel it. The camera moves like his mind, pushing you into his distorted reality. Raging Bull does the same, trapping you inside Jake LaMotta's brutal world. Scorsese didn't just admire Peeping Tom. He learned from it. Hollywood movies in the 60s were sleek, structured, carefully polished. Faces was the opposite, raw, chaotic, and brutally real. John Cassavetes didn't follow traditional filmmaking rules. He shot Faces with a handheld camera, let actors talk over each other, and created scenes that felt almost uncomfortably real. The film dives deep into a crumbling marriage, peeling away every layer of pretense until all that's left is raw emotion. It doesn't feel scripted. It feels like you're eavesdropping on something you shouldn't be watching. Scorsese has called Cassavetes one of his biggest influences. The way Faces captures real, unfiltered emotion. That's Mean Streets. The naturalistic dialogue, the sense of unpredictability, it's all there in Scorsese's early films. Goodfellas may be slicker, but its soul comes from the raw energy Cassavetes pioneered. Without Faces, there's no Mean Streets. And without Mean Streets, there's no Scorsese as we know him today. Time is the one enemy no one can defeat. And The Leopard is a film about a man watching history pass him by. Luchino Visconti's sweeping historical epic tells the story of an aging Sicilian prince, played by Burt Lancaster, coming to terms with the end of his era. The aristocracy is dying, and a new generation is rising to power. He knows he can't stop it. He can only watch as the world moves on without him. Scorsese called The Leopard one of the greatest films ever made. And it's easy to see why. It's not just about history. It's about mortality, regret, and the slow realization that your time has passed. That same theme, it's the backbone of The Irishman. De Niro's character in The Irishman isn't just remembering his life. He's realizing how little it all mattered in the end. The way The Leopard lingers on its protagonist's face as he quietly accepts his fate, that's the same way The Irishman ends, with De Niro sitting alone, waiting for time to take him to. Some films tell a story. Others make you feel the weight of time itself. The Leopard does both. A war film, a prison break, Steve McQueen jumping a barbed wire fence on a motorcycle. On the surface, The Great Escape is pure adventure, a thrilling escape story filled with tension, action, and iconic moments. But underneath that, it's something more. This isn't a movie about winning. It's about almost winning. It's about men risking everything for freedom, only to realize that war doesn't let you walk away so easily. Scorsese has always been fascinated by how tension is built in film, and The Great Escape is a masterclass in that. Every close call, every near miss, every moment where escape seems just within reach, it's all meticulously crafted to keep you on edge. That same technique, it's all over Goodfellas. Think about the famous Last Day as a wise guy sequence. Henry Hill driving around, paranoid, watching helicopters, trying to pull off a drug deal while everything spirals out of control. The way the tension escalates, moment by moment, that's the Great Escape's influence. No blood, no monsters, no cheap tricks, just pure psychological terror. The haunting doesn't show you anything. It makes you feel it. Every creak in the house, every shadow in the corner of your eye, every whisper that might not even be real. The film plays with perception, keeping you in a constant state of unease. Scorsese has called it one of the scariest films ever made. And it's because The Haunting understands that horror isn't about what you see. It's about what you think you see. That technique, it's all over Shutter Island. That film doesn't rely on jump scares. It gets under your skin, slowly, methodically, making you question what's real and what's not. The way The Haunting uses sound, sometimes deafening, sometimes dead silent, is exactly how Shutter Island pulls you deeper into its nightmare. War isn't just fought with guns. Sometimes, it's fought in the shadows, with secrets, deception, and double lives. The Counterfeit Traitor tells the true story of Erik Erikson, an American businessman forced into spying on Nazi Germany. Scorsese has always been drawn to films about moral ambiguity, double identities, and the cost of betrayal. You see echoes of this in The Departed, where loyalty is a gray area, and survival comes at a price. Forget the noble, honorable war hero. Play Doty is about mercenaries, men who aren't fighting for their country, but for money, survival, and sometimes, just because there's no way out. It's war at its most brutal, most cynical. Scorsese has a deep respect for war films that strip away the romance and show the ugliness underneath. The same way Taxi Driver exposed the dark underbelly of New York, Play Doty shows the ruthlessness of men at war. The only film Marlon Brando ever directed, and it's as bold, unorthodox, and unpredictable as he was. A revenge western dripping in betrayal, regret, and stunning cinematography. Scorsese has called it one of the most fascinating westerns ever made. The brooding antihero, the shifting morality, the explosive violence, all of it feels like a blueprint for the crime sagas he would go on to create. A war film? A heist movie? A brutal survival thriller? Dark of the Sun is all of the above. A team of mercenaries, a mission gone wrong, and an escalating descent into chaos. Scorsese has talked about how action and tension should always feel earned. This film does exactly that, pulling you into its gritty, relentless world, much like Goodfellas does with its crime-ridden streets. A kidnapping, a ransom demand, a moral dilemma. Kuros's High and Low isn't just a crime thriller. It's a study of power, class, and justice. Scorsese has praised Kurosa endlessly, and you can see why. The tension, the shifting perspectives, the way the camera traps characters in their own decisions. It's a technique Scorsese perfected in films like Casino and The Irishman. A man with a grudge. A family trapped in his crosshairs. Cape Fear is tension at its most primal, a slow, merciless game of cat and mouse. Scorsese didn't just love this film, he remade it. His 1991 version turned up the heat, but the original, it's all about restraint. Every moment is calculated. Every silence is deafening. This is how you build fear, step by step, until there's nowhere left to run. A political thriller that feels disturbingly real. The Manchurian Candidate follows a soldier brainwashed into becoming a sleeper assassin, triggered to kill without even knowing it. Scorsese has praised its psychological intensity, jagged editing, and eerie paranoia, techniques he used later in The Taxi Driver and Shutter Island. The way it distorts reality, making you question what's real, that's pure cinematic mastery. Even 60 years later, it still feels terrifyingly relevant. Speaking of psychological horror, The Innocents is The Haunting's eerie cousin. A ghost story wrapped in ambiguity, where every answer raises more questions. Scorsese has always been fascinated by films that blur the line between reality and illusion. Just like Taxi Driver makes you question Travis Bickle's mind, The Innocents makes you wonder, is she seeing ghosts, or is she going mad? Sergio Leone's masterpiece. A Western epic soaked in dust, sweat, and revenge. Every shot, every frame, It all builds to one of the greatest showdowns in cinema history. Scorsese has called this film a lesson in visual storytelling. Leone stretches time, forces you to wait, to watch. You can feel that same patience in Scorsese's own films, the way tension builds, the way violence erupts only when it truly matters. A film that rewrote the rules of cinema. L'Avventura isn't about plot, it's about feeling. A woman disappears, but instead of searching for answers, the film drifts. It lingers. It leaves you lost, just like its characters. Scorsese has called Antonioni's work a major influence. The way L'Avventura captures alienation, how it forces you to sit in the silence. That's the kind of filmmaking Scorsese embraced. Because sometimes, the most powerful moments are the ones that say nothing at all. These films didn't just shape Scorsese. They shaped cinema itself. They challenged the rules, broke conventions, and redefined storytelling. If you've seen his films, you've seen their DNA. The tension of Peeping Tom, the raw emotion of Faces, the sweeping grandeur of The Leopard. They are all here, woven into the very fabric of his storytelling. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these have you seen? Are there any you think should have made the list? And what's your favorite Scorsese film of all time? Let's talk in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into cinema history, and share this video with fellow film lovers.